This is a tutorial on creating and editing pages in Kartra. To do this, go to My Pages, and this page will show you all of the pages that you have created in Kartra already. Here you have a few options. If you want to edit, you want to clone, click on the three buttons. Actually, let me back up. From here you can sort. So within Kartra, you can categorize your pages into different sites. So let's say you have your website in Kartra and you have different pages. You can manage it through this way. You can add that category to the page description when you set it up. And you have different categories of pages. If you have sales pages, if you have thank you pages, if you have terms and conditions pages, you have funnel pages, you have lead magnet pages, you can organize them this way. So say we're going to look at all the thank you pages. You know, these are all the different ones that I have for different categories of opt-ins or purchase confirmations here. So let me get out of here. Let's go back to all categories. So if you wanted to edit an existing page, click on the three buttons. You can edit, you can clone, or you can delete. So let's say we're going to edit this page. Show you how to set this up. So when you open a blank page in Kartra, this is what it looks like. You do have the option of using their templates, which are great because then you can, drag and drop, you can move things around. Using pre-existing content makes it easier to get your stuff up and running faster. But if you're designing from scratch, this is what a blank page is going to look like. And Kartra is great because it tells you exactly what it wants you to do on the page. But just before we get there, just want to show you up here, go over these menus. So Kartra has the ability to show you what your page is going to look like in different devices. So this is going to show you your desktop view, this will show you the tablet view, and this will show you the mobile view. Kartra also divides the page building between columns and components. So columns is the background of the page, how the page is made up. Components are the items that are on the page. And I'll show you a little bit more when we get into building the page and setting up the different parts of it. But this can make a difference. You'll have different functionality availability based on which mode you're in here. And this will tell you, this will give you the options to see the columns or not. So let's start with creating. So this says drag and drop a section here. So we'll go over to this side, and here are all our sections that are available to us. So you can, if you just want to start from scratch, we'll add an empty block. Then that's just to start designing anything. If you have favorites, I like to do this because a lot of the things that I create are the same types of things over and over again. So I save sections that I like that I've already designed. They already have my branding, my colors, my fonts. It's easier to start from with an existing section that already has this content than it is to just create from scratch. So you'll see I have different forms. I have pricing guides, pricing tables rather. I have some sections, some content, different things here. So you can use favorites, you can use empty, or you can just build the sections, add the sections from here. So this will show you all the different components that are their own sections. So a navigation menu, which would be like a footer menu or a header menu, they would have their own section. A hero section, which is going to be what you would see at the top of a home page on a website. It's a big picture. It's got some kind of a call to action, maybe a video, a picture in the background, a picture in the foreground. That's what we call a hero section. Now all of these, we'll get into that. So let's start with, we'll add a hero section. Most web pages. Let's scroll down here. So we have, and we just click and drag, and then you can just drop it there. And if you wanted to add any of these, again, you just drag and drop. So the reason why these are separate sections is if you look on the side here, each section of the page will have its own settings menu. Now in this section, it's going to label the page section, section 1, section 2, and this comes in handy if when you decide to create a navigation menu or if you create links within the page, you can point to different parts of the page. You can have a button that goes straight to section 4 or section 8 from where you are. You can save this section. Let's say you do all this design work, you add your branding, your colors, pictures, fonts, whatever. Save it as a template, and now you can easily and quickly build pages that look similar and have consistent branding just by using template sections. This is if you wanted to edit the source code of the section, and that's if you have a programming background, if you understand how to code, if you want to modify the code. If you wanted to move a section around, you can see this here, you can just see how this cursor turns into a crisscross, drag and drop. Now this becomes section 1, and our hero is in section 2. You can also clone it from the menu. You can edit the section information. So here's what you can, or the configuration rather. This is what you can edit in the section configuration. You can edit the style, and this is the padding, which is how much space you have in between the two sections. You can change the background color. You can change the background pattern. Now it's important to note that you need to hit apply every time you make a change, or else Kartra doesn't know to apply those changes. You can also change the background. This is where you would add an image for a section. Click on the image selected. Select the picture that you want, upload it, or if it's already in there, you could just select it, click confirm, and again, you need to hit apply in order for that to happen. It'll appear in the background. You can change the opacity of the picture. Right? You can change the blur. This is where you can indicate the delay, how soon this section is shown once somebody lands on the page. And this is where you indicate what device you want this section shown on. So it's very common for a page that looks, while Kartra is responsive, sometimes I like to specifically design pages or sections of pages just for mobile or just for desktop, and this is where you can use this feature. So let's say I have this section and I look at it on mobile and I don't really care I don't like how that looks. I can go into here. What I would do is I would clone this section. I would make one section visible for desktop, and I would make another section visible. Oops. So this is the one for desktop up here, and then we'll say this one I only want visible for mobile and tablet. And the way that we can tell the difference is this is section 4, and we'll make the background a different color so that you can tell. So the green one is now visible on mobile, and the purple one The bluish one is now visible on the mobile. So that's something that you can do with that hide and show feature in the setting options here. So let's go back to creating our page. We'll go back to desktop, and let's talk about the components of your page. So once we've created a page, let's say we're going to add a blank section. And we want to build this from scratch. Once we add an empty section, we need to start adding. It tells you drag and drop a column. Column is located in components. So this tells Kartra how many columns you want this particular section to be broken into. So you can see we have our options all the way from full width to half and half and different variations therein. So let's select these. Now what's important to note with components is you see that this bar turns from orange to green. Once it turns green, that's where I can let go. I can drag and drop it, but I can't do it until it turns green. But it'll show me all the places that I can put this down. Here, I can put it here, and then we let it go. So once we've added our columns, now it's telling us to add a component. From that point on, we can add anything from this components menu to these sections. So we can add a headline. And again, we're looking for it to turn green, and we can drop it. We can add text, we can add a button. This is great. These accordions are great for FAQ modules, like in a sales page. Images, this is how we add our pictures. Now to add an image, again, we're waiting for that to turn green. To edit this picture, click on the item, and we have our component menu here. We can delete, we can edit, we can clone it, resize it. This is where we can tell it how much of this space we want it to take up, or we can move it. So we can drag it over here. I want it to be a little bigger, so let's put it back. We'll put it here. And when we hit the Edit Style button, this is where we get into editing the actual image. So if you wanted to upload it, you would click the Upload button. If you want to use an existing picture, let's say we add this one, and we hit Confirm. Again, this picture does not show up until we hit Apply, and here is the picture that we can now edit. Again, with our component submenu here, we can change the style, and the style is how it appears in this box. This is where we can add margin. So if we want to move this within the block, we can do that. We can make that pop back up to the top. If we want the alignment to be different, we want it to be centered. That picture looks like it is already taking up the entire space. If we want to add a border to the picture, we could change this here to that. So that adds a border to that picture, which looks awful. That's okay. If we want this to actually be a picture or an image, let's say it's not a picture of a person, it's a picture of text, and it says click here for more information. I would probably use a button for that, but if it was an image that I already had that had content, these are all the ways that you can link within a Kartra page. You can link to another Kartra page. If I select this, scroll down, this is where I can tell Kartra where to send it within my own account to what page I wanted to open, if I wanted to open in a new tab, and then I would hit apply. I could actually have it go to another URL, like an external one, like Google or another website. I could have it scroll to another section, which is where it was helpful to know. See, we have section 2. Maybe I wanted to go to section 4, section 5. That's where I could indicate that right here. If I wanted this, say, download a file, which I do often on my lead magnet confirmation pages, if somebody has requested a file, I will email it to them, but I will also put it on the confirmation page so they can have it immediately. You can pop an opt-in form, make it kind of an overlay. You can do a video player. Didn't mean to close that. So if you wanted it to be, let's see, Kartra hosted video, or YouTube, Wistia, or Vimeo, you could do that. You could put a product checkout there. These are all going to be, see where it says pop, it's going to, once they click on it, it'll pop up. You could have a product checkout form, an affiliate sign-up form, a membership login form, a calendar if you wanted to have somebody, if this was your book a call with me button, you could do that. Or it could be a content box that somebody clicks on, and there's more information. We could have something like this, pops up a content box. So we'll get out of that. You also could do these are the components that I use the most are probably images, buttons, icons, countdowns for sales pages. They're great for implementing some urgency to get people to take action before the countdown runs out. For a lead magnet landing page, you would use opt-in fields. If you have a physical, like a brick and mortar business, you would add a Google map so that people can find you. If you are doing if you have mock blog posts on your Kartra site, you could have share buttons here. If you are doing, I like to do this on a launch video, you could connect it to your Facebook page and let people put their Facebook comments. You could actually, I'll show you. Oh, let's see. Where can I put this? So people could put comments here. It would show up on this page and then also on Facebook. Those are the ones that I use the most. Trying to keep it simple. Let's see. So now we've gone over the components, and we'll talk a little bit about, you have some other options over here using pop-ups. So if you want to use a pop-up for when somebody shows up on your site or is leaving your site, you can select that here. You can have an alert bar that shows up on your page. If you have like an upcoming webinar or an event or something that you want to make sure people know about when they come to your page, you could use one of these. If you have set up a help desk and you want that to show up on the page, select this here. And then you can use your contact help desk. Little icon will show up on your page. If you wanted to embed some code on your Kartra page, you would use this. But let's go back to, you can use some mock-ups here. This is handy for your product or your program. You can have like a picture of you showing your virtual coaching program here. So once we've added the different modules and we edit them, that doesn't really fit. Editing text is just clicking on the content, clicking on the orange T for the edit text menu, and this is how you would do this. So you would highlight whatever you want to change. You can change the color, you can change the font, you can change the size of the font. Change the line height, make it easier to read, bold, whatever. All these different things that you can do. And again, so let's talk a little bit about, you're working on your page, you're not done, you want to save progress. This saves the content without publishing it, and it'll tell you it's been saved successfully. Once you are done with your page, you will click Publish Live, and that will give you the, that'll put it actually online. But you don't have to do that. You can also save it as a template. If you have created a sales page and you want to use that as a template for future sales pages or landing pages or confirmation pages, you can do that. You can also see a preview of your page as you're working on it by clicking on that preview button. Click the green Open Preview button, and it'll pop up. Of course, this is going to be hideous because we're just playing around. We'll close that. We can also see what it's going to look like in tablet and what it's going to look like in mobile. Very handy. So let's talk a little bit about components versus columns. So again, components are all the different pieces that are on the page. That's, you know, the sections and the images and text and the countdown timers, and those are the components. The columns are actually, let's go back to desktop. The columns are when we chose our section and then we added the columns and we said we wanted this one to be 33, 33, 33. This one's 50, 50. Now we can actually make edits in the column or design how the column looks to make it, just give us a little bit more control over the appearance of the page. And this is where we can edit information about the actual column. So we can change the padding, the border, the background color, the border radius. So this is actually something I use. Let's see. Do something like this around a section can make it look good. Maybe not this color, but you know, something around that. Or you could do it around an image, but this is how you would do it around text. You can have a background image in a section. So let's use this one. And let's say you wanted to have a background picture. You could choose Image. And make sure you hit Apply. And that would be behind any component. So that's how you would hit stack like a picture behind a component. And this is some effects that you can have. Let's see, might be easier to see over here. These are the effects that you can, these apply to components as well. I recommend keeping it a light hand with the effects because too many can really be overwhelming to your page visitor. So use them sparingly. And you can see a preview of how how each effect will look on your page. Sliding in, flash, shake. Like I said, keep these, use them sparingly because they can be overwhelming. And let's see. And once you're done, so let's say you're finished with your page and you're ready to publish it live, you're going to click the Publish Live button, and it's going to tell you it's saving the page contents, and now it'll give you a choice here. So one, you can get the page link, and this will give you the Kartra hosted page, or you can get the page code. Page code is helpful if you are hosting the page like on a WordPress site. There's a way to do that, but I'm not going to get into that here. For the most part, I will say you're using this page link. Now, if you have connected a custom domain to Kartra, this is where you will update the URL. So I just clicked that little button to edit it. I'm going to find my custom domain here, and if I want this to be have a specific label, I'm going to call this web design. So now the URL of this page will be my custom domain / web design, and then I can click this and I save it. Now this is my URL, and this is helpful if you are creating landing pages for lead magnets, and you want them to be easy to remember, especially for you. So if this was your recipe book, you could call it yourcustomdomain.com/recipe book, and then that would be easy for you to remember and give to people on your Facebook group or wherever. One last thing about pages we didn't cover. We'll go over here. So let's say you have a website that you're creating in Kartra. We'll go up here, and you can arrange your pages by website. So if you wanted to, if you had an existing site, you could assign it to a website. And what that would do is, if you have existing navigation bars, headers, and footers that are designed already for one of these for your website, it will automatically add it. You can see here these options. You can export any of these things to give it kind of a cohesive look. But again, the header, the footer, the help desk, a pop-up alert bar, and then you can apply it to all the pages in the site. An important thing to do for each page is to set these parameters. So the page title, that's what's going to appear. Do you see up here this text? That's what this page title is. So you want to make sure this is going to be visible to anybody who visits the page, so you want it to be descriptive and appropriate. The meta description is going to be used by the search engine. And what's really important is down here, this OG description. This is what's going to show up. Let's say you're sharing this URL with your Facebook group. Now, if you've ever posted something to a Facebook group, you know that it's going to pull a picture that goes with that URL, and this is where you set that picture. So you're going to set the description, and then you're going to make sure that this picture, let's say it's the lead magnet that you want, or that your recipe book or something. Make sure that the image that you select for OG image is appropriate for the page. And we'll go back to SEO parameters. Tracking code. Now, if this were a sales page, when you create the product, you would want to embed the code that is generated at the end of the product creation process into this section right here. If you have a Facebook ads pixel, and this is a sales page or your website, you want to put your pixel right here. This is helpful if you want to kind of track who's been to the page of your subscribers. So if you have a sales funnel and you want to track who's going to different pages, so you can retarget them either with a Facebook ad or with an email campaign later on, you can do that here. So you can have all your tags. Tag anybody who visits this page. Page redirect is great if you are doing a launch and you have a page that you want to shut down after a certain date. If you have if you're closing your cart and you don't want that sales page to be available, you can do a redirect whenever the cart closes. Click this over here. You can say redirect to a different page. You tell it what page you want it to go to. Put this in here. And you can set it right there. And this is helpful with countdown timers and sales pages and things like that. So if you wanted to redirect the page, you don't want it to be available to anybody after the cart closes, go ahead and reset a page here and say everybody go to a different page.